Hello and welcome back to another Warcraft video. This time it's going to be another Q&A about Warlords of Draenor, but don't worry, it is different from the previous one that I have on the channel, and there's actually some really interesting information here, especially pertaining to the whole issue, I suppose, of normal dungeons, heroic dungeons, LFR, and how they are all going to play out in terms of gear. So, yeah, very good stuff. Anyway, let's get into the Q&A, and first of all, I just want to say that this is based on a translation from French, so there may be one or two inaccuracies here and there, but I'm pretty sure that everything's watertight. Now, Ian Hazacostas first said that each warlord is not going to have its own raid. He said that, for an example, we were going to fight Ner'zhul in a level 100 dungeon, and Blackhand will be the final boss in patch 6.0. Overall, there isn't really any formula, and I can see a lot of people having a bit of an issue with some of the warlords actually being killed off, or maybe just temporarily defeated within a dungeon. But honestly, I think that if it makes sense, it's okay. Like, this whole idea of we kill Ner'zhul in a dungeon. Well, if the storyline in Shadowmoon Valley backs that up, then I think it's okay. They just need to do it right and make sure that it's not like what they did with, say, Anubarak, and, you know, it just has no payoff, so that should be done right. I'd say they've learned their lesson from Anubarak. Okay, so next he said that the personal loot system works great for pugs and flex. And that is, of course, on flex you can actually choose between the traditional loot system and personal loot. Anyway, personal loot solves a lot of problems and it reduces player conflict, which overall is quite a good thing. Normal looting will, of course, still be there, though he did say that there is one concern with getting the number of drops right. Now, I'm pretty sure that it's just going to scale the normal way, so if you get 2 drops on 10 player, well, you have a 100% chance of getting 2 drops on 10 player, a 100% chance of getting 4 drops on 20 player, and a 100% chance of getting 3 drops on 15 player. And perhaps if you had 12 players, you would have a 100% chance of getting 2 definite drops, and then a 40% chance of getting a third. And then Ian said that if there's a raid of 18 people, and 15 people already had killed the boss, then the drop rate could very well be 0. Now, I think that's actually a little bit of a kink in mathematics, or not mathematics, in translation. If we work this out maths-wise, right, you have a 100% chance for 2 things to drop in 10 player, which means that if there are only 5 players eligible to loot a boss, then it would be a 100% chance of dropping 1 bit of gear. So therefore, if only 2 players are able to loot a boss, then it would be a 40% chance of any gear dropping. So, if you were in a 18-person raid, 16 people had already killed the boss, and there's only 2 people left, then there would be a 40% chance of a piece of gear dropping from the boss. I think. Maybe. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of the Q&A, and he said that our main enemy is going to be the Iron Horde, but we will also face Ogres and Arakoa. He described the Arakoa as being noble, though I think that could just be Google Translate. Basically, they're not all twisted and corrupted like they were in Outland, and they're currently located above ground in giant cities located in the spires of Iraq. We're also going to be fighting Gron and massive stone giants called Foromors. Then we will, he also named 2 different kinds of world boss. One of them is called a Genosaur, which is a 4-legged moving forest, and a Tanai, which is a human-sized monster wrapped in bark. They actually both sound really unique and different for a world boss, and that's really nice, actually. So hopefully we get more things along those lines. And overall, yeah, sure, we will be killing the Iron Horde, mainly. You can tell I just woke up. But there is going to be a decent bit of variation in terms of the enemies that we will face, which is nice, because if you're fighting the Iron Horde all the time, it's going to kind of wear on people. Alright, so next, he said that garrisons are going to be very closely related to the Warlords of Draenor expansion, but the technology from them, like the follower AI and a few other things, is definitely going to be used in the future. Blizzard had previously said that they were not 100% sure what will happen to garrisons, and whether they will just wholesale sort of copy-paste them into the next expansion. It's definitely a bit of a hard, I don't know, it's hard to know exactly what they will do, but hopefully there is some form of continuation with them, because it seems like an awful lot of work and gameplay to put to waste. Alright, so now for what is arguably the biggest and most important section, Heroic Dungeons. So he said that the difficulty will be between Cataclysm and Wrath of the Lich King, and perhaps being closer to some of the easier heroics in the Cataclysm, like say Vortex Pinnacle and the Lost City of the Tol'vir. He said that there is going to be a big difference, though, because there are going to be level 100 normal dungeons, unlike in Mists of Pandaria. And to get into LFR, you will only need normal dungeon gear, and if you want to get into raiding, then you can go and do heroic dungeons. He also said that raiding or LFR will not interfere with gearing at the start of the expansion because it will not be available. It will open wing by wing at a later date. Since heroic dungeons will be 100% available, they will still remain the best way of getting gear for raids. Also, challenge modes will have a daily quest which will give you a chance of getting an epic quality item, at least of item level equal to LFR, though you would need to get a bronze or higher medal. Overall, I think this is actually very nice. Personally, I would have LFR dropping, I guess dropping they would need to drop gear that is slightly better than heroic dungeons, just for the sake of balancing out item levels so that people have a reason to go into LFR, because they do have to manage the queues. But overall, I'm very happy that they are making heroic dungeons the optimal way to gear up, really. And I think the challenge mode stuff should probably drop gear that's maybe a little bit better than LFR, because honestly, doing a challenge mode in a bronze timer is way harder than doing an LFR. Then he also said that Ashran can be made cross-server to resolve balance issues between factions, and just as a funny tidbit, Google Translate apparently thinks that if you transfer Wintergrass from French to English, you get Winter Yoke, which doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I mean, okay, they basically want Ashran to be mainly an on-your-server thing, but they will be opening up to cross-realm zones or connected realms, or no, CRZ, yeah. They'll be opening it up to that if they need to balance out the factions. One issue that I could see with that, though, is, like, you log in one day and you are in your current realms, Ashran. So, if you then move to another like cross-realm with a friend, then you have another Ashran. It could be confusing. I'm not too sure how they'll balance that, but we'll probably find out during the beta. Then next he said that 6.0 will likely contain it will contain the Warlords of Draenor system, so things like the new raid modes are going to be applied to the Siege of Orgrimmar, the new character models will be there, and so will be the item squish. He also said that there will be an in-game event, but he couldn't give out any details, which I suppose does make sense. Though I really hope that it isn't a scenario, because the Siege of Theramore, Destruction of Theramore, whatever, was just that. It was a really bad way to send us into Mists of Pandaria. They could have done something far more interesting. And then just had Theramore being a scenario at the start, or just having, maybe like the Theramore stuff would still happen, but they could have at least given us some sort of really cool event to kick off the expansion. I don't think they'll really top, for me anyway, they won't top the Undead Invasion that was before Wrath the Lich King. I just thought that was so much fun. And I know it was gameplay disruptive for about 2 weeks, but I think it was one of those special moments and sort of pieces of history in the game. So, yeah, I don't know. I very much doubt we will get some sort of Draenor-specific plague that will spread around people, though. Okay, so next, he said that they will work on getting better racial mount models in the future, but right now their main goal was just the player models. He also said one or two other things, like the general quality has increased. He said that, say, the new fireball effect is better than it has ever looked. That's definitely true, and in terms of sound assets, that's the one thing I noticed when I was looking through a lot of the recent footage. The sound assets are just way better. Things like even footstep noises when you're walking on metal or walking on snow, they sound a lot better. The noise of a blacksmith's hammer, the noise of bows, fire crackling, all these things have been recaptured. And well, you know, in terms of there's new assets for them, and they're way, way better. So that's definitely nice to see. Then he also said that they removed some spells which did not seem essential. Many DPS classes ended up macroing multiple spells together into the same button anyway. So as an example, for Warriors, Recklessness and Skull Banner would have been macroed together, so they just removed the banner and added some of its effects to Recklessness. In terms of that specific change though, is that not a bit of an issue, because Warriors would be able to intervene to their War Banner? So I'm not too sure how they're going to get around that. Anyway, that's just one example, and honestly, a lot of things will change during the beta. Overall, they removed 20% of the spells in the game, though they will probably be adding some, and things will even out a lot during the beta, and that's definitely true. One thing I'll say is, if you're planning on raging about a change, or raging about, I don't know, an ability lost, or a certain talent, don't, because the beta hasn't happened yet. most of the things they're doing are really just a proof of concept or saying, hey, this is kind of the idea we want to go in. Specifics are not ironed out yet. And then finally he said that they were planning on having a Karazhan scenario for patch 6.0 because Karazhan is linked a little bit to the Dark Portal, but they ended up deciding against it, and they just thought, hey, we might as well have some fun with the data miners at MMO Champion. And have fun they did. Anyway, that is it for this interview. Overall, I think the main bit of news there is about the heroic dungeons and the different gear levels. I'm very happy to read all of that. I think that overall, these changes are pretty damn good. The item squish stuff, not the item squish, the spell squish where they're removing some abilities, could be interesting, and I just think that it will take a lot of testing and iteration through the beta to really strike a good balance. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.